nobody wants to buy, and now a new report is claiming that Square Enix is removing the option for players to choose between male and female characters for the upcoming Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake.
This is getting pretty crazy. Welcome to the Midnight Podcast, episode 2. Let me know if you guys want me to continue doing these midnight podcasts. It's just a chill episode that I'm doing for you guys that are up late at night. I figured I'd try this out, see if you guys like it. And I just talk about what's really just interesting me for the over the last day or week. Maybe I'll do them every day or whenever I feel like it. Once a week, we'll see. But let me know if you guys want me to keep doing these midnight podcasts. So society is collapsing and nothing can stop it at this point. You know, it's insane. It is absolutely insane. We've got a couple of stories. The main story I want to discuss is what's happening with gaming right now and more censorship as they're pushing for diversity. It's actually leaving us with fewer options and erasing our identities. But I think I'll jump into the story with NASA right now. Many of you know that there are two astronauts that are currently stranded on the International Space Station. They used a Boeing space vehicle to get there. However, it basically broke down once it connected at the space station. It's brand new, and there were helium leaks, and also the thrusters were having trouble working. They claim that they got that fixed, but they're not entirely sure it's still safe to use it. The astronauts were only supposed to be up there for like a week or two. Instead, now they're on an extended stay, and they'll be there indefinitely. NASA does not have a method of bringing them back in on their own, so there's no backup from Boeing. This was like the only vehicle that they had that can do this, evidently, and they're trying to fix it from the ground. So basically, they're getting the astronauts to do this, and use duct tape and all kinds of other crazy stuff. And they were also running out of gas, so they only have like 45 days worth of gas. And if it doesn't work out, if they're not able to solve the problem in that period of time, then yeah, they're screwed, and there's no way of bringing them back other than looking for help out from someone else. Previously, we would have relied on Russia to help us because they were part of the International Space Station and they have their own space program. And sometimes whenever we had issues, we would just basically have our astronauts ride on their spaceships. But they basically said they're pulling out of the International Space Station program, so they're not helping us anymore. But NASA says that they still expect Boeing Starliner to return astronauts from International Space Station, but no SpaceX backup option. So NASA leadership on Wednesday acknowledged potential alternatives to Boeing's Starliner for returning a pair of astronauts from the International Space Station. Starliner now has been in space 36 days and counting as NASA and Boeing perform additional testing to replicate issues identified with the propulsion system before clearing the spacecraft to return. A NASA official noted that an end of July return for Starliner is optimistically based on completing the test being done in New Mexico. They only have 45 days of gas, evidently. So what they're saying is insane. They're saying they're optimistically, in other words, an entire month could go by and they could fail and go straight into August. This is crazy. This is insane. And of course, there is a woman stranded on there along with a man. But they're both Gen Xers. With NASA astronauts docked at the International Space Station for longer than planned, the agency's leadership on Wednesday acknowledged potential alternatives to Boeing Starliner for returning the crew to Earth. Still, the Boeing spacecraft remains the primary option for returning crews, officials said. Officials say Starliner capsule Calypso may return as soon as the end of this month from its extended International Space Station stay, pending results of testing a faulty propulsion system. Keep in mind there were numerous helium leaks also. Starliner has now been in space 36 days and counting as this agency and Boeing perform additional tests in New Mexico before clearing the spacecraft to return. The mission is the first time Starliner is carrying people. Flying NASA astronauts Butch and Wilmore and Suni Williams. NASA's commercial crew manager, Steve Stitch, emphasized during a press conference that the first option today is to return Butch and Suni on Starliner, adding, "We don't see any reason currently to turn to the agency's other transportation options, which would be SpaceX's Crew Dragon, uh, to bring back the astronauts." This is a joke, all right? Other transportation options. So basically, their only hope is Elon Musk and begging Elon Musk to go up there and rescue them. Let's make it very, very clear. It would be a 100% rescue mission that would have to be done very quickly. These things are usually planned out. They usually plan out every single launch for months, sometimes even years in advance. And this would be a rescue mission. They're completely downplaying it. And this is a very dangerous situation that we're looking at with this right now, because anything can go wrong. This thing is, it's obvious that there are serious problems with this, and they want to put these people back in this thing. And we've actually seen multiple times what happens if you fly in a spaceship that is faulty. It doesn't take much for these things to just go pop. And we saw this happen I think it was in the 80s. There was a teacher on one of these things, and a problem happened, and you know everyone on it was like Control Alt deleted. There was the Columbia situation, which grounded the space program for a long time. That happened. I forget. I think it was in the 2000s, and we all saw that on television. And boom, then everyone on that was also Control Alt deleted. And now they're trying to do this again. NASA retired their entire space program under Obama. So not space program, but their shuttles, which were never really designed to do more than, very small things. So they don't have any ships of their own. They have to rely on either Russia, which is no longer an option, or private contractors. And they thought that it would be cheaper to go with private contractors because the government cannot run a business, the government cannot develop its own products, or the cost is wickedly high. Boeing, on the other hand, which has recently pleaded guilty this week to fraud, you know, pleaded guilty, and that's paying a $200 million fine, which is a slap on the wrist for them. Is now is at the front of this, and this is like blowing Boeing's doors, like doors off their jets are falling off, wheels are falling off, like there are people being Control Alt deleted in these planes as a result of faulty design, and the U.S. government is still just like pushing ahead with this company. So I think that's a load of crap, but that's where we're at, and I don't know what's going to happen. I think that it's insane having these astronauts get back in there. And if we look at some comments, Jesse James says, "What everyone is missing, this is a comment, is missing here is that the ship cannot safely bring back the astronauts with non-functioning thrusters. Without those to precisely guide the ship to that critical angle of entry through the atmosphere, they could it could basically burn up or go bouncing off the atmosphere out into space. The thrusters use helium to provide that critical guidance, which with all the leaks, they cannot perform that need." Let's look at a comment because there are people on a lot of copium. First off, they have 28 thrusters. 5 misbehaved on docking, but 4 have been fixed. They have enough helium for 70 hours of flights, and they only need 7. So, guys, this is a total BS. 5 misbehaves during docking, but we should take the risk. This is crazy. This is crazy. We have 5. We have 5. There's a total of 28. We don't need to worry about the other ones, okay? We don't need to worry about the other ones. All right? Currently only 1 is not behaving correctly. Let's not worry about it not behaving correctly when they try to return to Earth. This is so stupid. This is so stupid, all right? And there are helium leaks. Guys, this is crazy. Guys, these people this guy is on copium. Absolute copium. Trying to cope. R says Boeing is getting a beating right now for this mess up to go along with the mess up from the 737 MAX fiasco. Well deserved. Mike says a lot of double talk in the story. I don't feel confident after reading this. Gary says not worth risking their lives. Alan says I had no idea that Starliner was actually a satellite. Let me see here. Ken says they are stranded. The people on the space station want the in-laws to go home. Jeez. Yeah, so that's a situation with that. And I think that it's really, really messed up. I think it's really, really messed up. But yeah, it's not good. It's really, really not good. So we're I mean, what do you guys think regarding that? Let me know what you think on that one. And for the story I really wanted to talk about today, this actually comes from Vara Dark, Vara Dark dash Dark Titan Media. So I'll have a link to her channel in the description of the video, so you can go and check her out and support her content. But she has a story for us discussing Square Enix double talk, and basically what's happening right now with Square Enix is they are removing gender from they're basically removing gender from their games. So Square Enix doubles down on DEI Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, removes gender for modern audiences. So we're gonna go ahead and play some of this. Let's go ahead and listen to this story, because this is just ridiculous, but it continues on, and then we'll kind of go into it and break down a little bit of it to explain what exactly all of this means.
We are seeing so many companies try to make content that appeals to everyone that they are creating products that nobody wants to buy. And now a new report is claiming that Square Enix is removing the option for players to choose between male and female characters for the upcoming Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. This report comes from Raikuta 2089, who claims via translation, because they are Japanese, that the game has no distinction between male and female heroes. We're hearing that the characters are now labeled A and B, with the A version appearing like a male hero while the B version is a female hero. Now, obviously, we have seen this happen a lot with video games, and honestly, even some of the best video games to release, like Elden Ring, for example. While I wish that it was just a gender option and it said male or female, it's body type A and body type B. This isn't very surprising in the industry now, but the major issue with this is the fact that this is not a new product. This is a remake. So you expect the content to be as close to the original game as possible. And of course, this opens up a whole can of worms, because if at the very beginning, when you're booting up the game, when you're going to create a character and you're going to start your adventure, there's already a very prominent change. What else is going to be altered? And of course, there are people defending this on social media saying it's not that big of a deal. You guys are making this into a situation when it doesn't have to be. If it wasn't that big of a deal, why did they change it? Why did they remove the words male and female if it wasn't such a big deal? Clearly, somebody at Square Enix or one of their partners decided this could be a small yet significant change towards modernizing products. Now, of course, we do not know exactly who is working on this project when it comes to narrative consultation companies, but there is a big chance that Sweet Baby Inc. has altered this game, because as you can see right on their webpage, under their client list, Square Enix is there front and center. Obviously, they have been there for quite a long time at this point, so we do not know exactly what products Sweet Baby Inc. has altered at Squeenix. There is a chance that this is one. It's not on their announced projects list yet. I will be keeping my eye on that, but we also know that Square Enix has an internal ethics department. Of course, just a couple of months ago, they erased the hiring page from their website because they were facing so much backlash. But let's not pretend like they magically got rid of this division. Of course.
So I think you guys are up to date now and you understand what's going on. Basically, there is an HD remake of Dragon Quest coming out. I was really looking forward to it. It's basically using HD 2D, which is a format that's kind of like Octopath Traveler. It's a game that they released years ago, and it basically takes 2D games and gives them like a 3D touch. So the game becomes it just looks really better. It has like 3D designs, but it still maintains the 2D look. It's really cool. I love it. But now what they're doing is they're like, this is, because keep in mind, this is a remake, but it's basically still essentially the same game. They're removing different things, and one of the things that they're removing is the ability to specify your GENDER. Instead, it's just basically player A and player B. And it's an interesting reality that we're living in right now, but it is what it is, and it's not going to get any better. This is one of the reasons why gaming on playing older games is going to become a major thing, and you can see that Square Enix does not care. They don't care. None of these companies actually care. They're going to continue pandering, and they're going to continue trying to virtue signal, and they have partners that are pressuring them. Sony is pressuring them, and you can see what Sony has done with their games, where the characters in the games are all now not very good looking. They've removed they don't characters are no longer attractive. It's crazy. Stellar Blade was a big major controversy because it had an attractive character in there. There were people who tried to justify characters becoming uglier in games and saying, "Oh well, they're just becoming graphics are becoming more realistic." And when graphics become more realistic, character people, things start to look uglier, which is complete garbage. Because we saw with Stellar Blade, that's not the case. The reality is that these companies are being told deliberately by the people, by the manufacturers, even the software makers like Unreal, like, oh, you need to tone it down. If you use our software to make your games, you need to you need to follow these rules and how you design your characters, and to be inclusive and have realistic, look realistic. So don't basically very beautiful characters are not realistic. They need to be more plain and more neutral looking. Uh, this is guys, this is it, and this is all while we're dealing with some very critical issues. People are, inflation is near impossible right now. People are living off credit and using just credit to survive, shopping at specialty retailers. A lot of people are now going to Costco and so forth, buying things in bulk. And even then, the inflation is only going higher. What they're doing is they're just passing the buck on to us. They are literally just passing it on to us. They're getting us to pay for everything, and it's this, and most people don't understand where the inflation is coming from, why this is actually happening, and it's interesting because people don't understand how money works. You know, the inflation we're experiencing right now is 100% deliberate. The state company, the state needs it. The companies need it. Every They all need it right now. They all basically need this high inflation right now so that they can pay their debts down. And because inflation basically reduces the value of debt. There was a comment that I got on one of my videos, and it was from Snake Plus, and he said the inflation is no accident. It's deliberate that the other side thinks that they're getting revenge or something for uh, you know Trump becoming president in 2016. So they cause inflation, but their plan is backfiring on them, and Trump is going to be in office again. That's not the reason. And I explain inflation is being used to reduce the value of the debt that banks, companies, and the U.S. government owe, right? That they currently owe. While these institutions store their assets in things that are not directly affected by inflation, like stocks and bonds or land, most consumers have their assets in cash. So by decreasing the value of cash, they are reducing the value of the debt, meaning that the value of their existing assets increase. So things like stocks and bonds continue to hold their things like stocks continue to not bonds, but things like stocks continue to hold their value. Okay. Things like land continue to hold their value. Precious metals continue to hold their value, while the value of everyone's cash goes down, meaning they grow richer. Meaning as they grow richer, everyone else grows poorer, and they cannot and they cannot and now they can pay the interest on their debt. But and now not only can they pay the interest on their debt, because right now the US cannot pay its interest that it owes on the bonds that it sells. People don't even understand how the US how the US creates debt, how the US pays its bills. It pays its bills by creating debt. So and it creates and how does it create debt? It creates debt by selling US bonds and treasuries to other countries like China. And basically they say, okay, we'll pay you a certain amount of interest on these bonds when they mature, and it's a lot. So if you hold on to these bonds, you're going to be making a lot of money from us. It's a scam off these bonds. But now, because of the amount of debt that the US has, they can no longer afford to pay the interest on these bonds, right? So what they're doing is they have to reduce the value of these bonds. How do you reduce the value of these bonds? Well, you create inflation, so the value of the dollar declines, and you need it to go down a lot. So basically, you reduce the value of cash, but everything else, like for example, this results in the value of things like land, real estate, property skyrocketing, because not only is it naturally going to gain value, but on top of that, you're pushing, it's a tangible asset. So that's going to continue to increase in value as the value of the dollar decreases. It's insane. So basically, the companies, that have wealth. This is why Apple doesn't want to keep a lot of cash. This is why a lot of companies like Google don't want to keep a lot of cash on hand. They don't want to keep a lot of cash on hand because the value of their cash is they know that cash is the value of cash depletes rapidly. So they want to spend that cash on something as quickly as possible because they're losing money year over year by holding on to so much cash, right? So basically the government, the banks, all of these institutions, because private institutions, they also sell bonds. The states, state governments, they also sell bonds. They can't pay the interest. So the banks, they sell bonds, all of this stuff. They hold massive amounts of debt. They can't pay their interest on these things. So they're passing the buck on to us. They're going to punish us as the consumer for holding cash. And we're basically going to pay. We're going to be on the losing end. So the value of our money declines while the value of their debt declines, but they hold tangible assets, so they get richer while everyone gets poorer, and we get stiffed with the bill. Talk about one hell of a scam. This is the reason why you need to have money tied to gold and silver, because when money is tied to a tangible asset, it becomes much more difficult to manipulate it, and it becomes increasingly difficult to just keep printing more money. It's crazy. It's crazy. This is the reality that we live in. So that's why that's happening, are among the reasons why it's happening, guys. And I personally think that it sucks, but they're not going to stop doing it. They're not going to stop doing it. Society is collapsing and nothing can stop it. What do you guys think? And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this, don't forget to check out my newsletter for my personal thoughts and insights. You can click the link in the description to go and check that out. And also, you can join the Angry Guy community for exclusive content by going over to angrygalaxy.com. We have all kinds of great stuff over there. Tons and tons of incredible things on angrygalaxy.com. That's just the locals community. You can go over there, get in. It's completely free to join, and you're gonna find all kinds of exclusive content over there. One of the things that we have over there right now for you are some brand new wallpapers, and they're completely free. They're free to access. You get access to tons of these wallpapers that are there right now. I'll show you on the screen. So these are some of these are Don't Mess with Gen X wallpapers. And there's a bunch of them. These are just two of them that are showing right here. We have mobile and we have desktop versions. This is the mobile version. This is the desktop version. And you can just go over to, you can click the link in the description of this video to not only sign up you can click the link in the description of the video to go over here and get your go over there and get your free wallpaper. And registering for the site is completely free. To become a member and simply follow is free. And once you follow, you get instant access. So go and check that out. Get your free wall, for your smartphone or your desktop. Yeah. But I mean, guys, what do you think? Society is collapsing and nothing can stop it. That's what I feel like right now. Do you guys agree with that? Are you enjoying these? Are you enjoying these the midnight podcasts? You want me to keep on doing it? Let me know if you want me to keep on doing these midnight podcasts, and I will think about it. I do enjoy it because I can kind of talk about whatever I want to, and I'm not as restrained to like, oh, we're just gonna do this one thing, and it's a podcast. It's a podcast. And I haven't been able to do as many live streams recently, but I feel like this is a great alternative. Maybe I'll get MK Fitness on here. Definitely ask him to come on at some point and do one of these podcasts because it's much more chill, not having to do the whole live thing. But let me know what you regarding collapsing, and nothing can stop it. Let's talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and walking away. And cheers.